Hey there, thanks for tuning into DuckBricks. I'm Chris, and this is a brand new Ninjago 2024 set, Sora's Elemental Tech Mech. It is one of the many different mechs they released earlier this year to allow to combine in this swap limb system, much akin to Lego Galador, and this is a set that just came out on January 1st. Now, of course, stay tuned to the DuckBricks channel because I've already published a mega review of every single one of the new Ninjago sets, which you can check out on the channel right now. But for today, let's focus in on Sora's Elemental Tech Mech. Alright, this is set number 71807, Sora's Elemental Tech Mech. It retails for $20 US, 20 euros, and comes with 209 pieces, at a 9.6 cent price per part ratio. The mech features Sora in the style of the mechs that are fully compatible with the other mechs that released for this particular wave, namely Kai's Elemental Fire Mech, which you can see right there, as well as Cole's Elemental Earth Mech, all of which are compatible with the body parts, which we'll take a look at how that works later on in the review, as well as a small side build of a tree for some terrain in the wildness, plus a wolf on a jetpack type of glider, which is a really cool design that only appears in this one set. Unfortunately, taking a look at the minifigures first, Sora is basically unchanged from her very first Dragon's Rising appearance. This is technically a unique configuration because she has never appeared with a half mask and hair before, but you basically can see this is certainly just the standard Dragon's Rising components for Sora. Now, I do definitely feel that the new ninja, especially the new characters, should have featured brand new outfits for this particular season, especially if they're pushing them as the new main characters. But I understand that maybe LEGO internally has some sort of a policy that when they introduce new characters to the team like this, they let them stay in the original outfits for a couple of years before getting their own new suits every single time. So I certainly wish that we got mech pilot suits for them, but this is alright. I totally understand it. Moving on to the Wolf Mask Warrior minifigure, again, I will be doing a full-on mega review of all of the minifigures of this wave later on, so stay tuned for that if you do want to see that video. But I love the design of these new minions. You have an energy powered-up face on the front and a regular face on the back, and the headpiece itself is really solid. It's a new dual-molded wolf mask component in dark blue and azure, which looks absolutely phenomenal, and I think the glider really works well for this character too. You can move the wings backwards and kind of make it such that they're gliding through the trees or the forest, or you can actually have it act as claw elements to aid them in fighting. It's a really, really solid build, and I'm really happy with the overall design of this particular character. Moving onwards to the build itself, though, we can take a closer look at the mech. The side build is alright. It's a pretty interesting one, actually. They're utilizing the dragon, tail, or horn element introduced last January as the trunk of the tree, which I think works okay. I think it works pretty well, actually. It's a unique and inventive, nice parts usage. But, of course, the main focus is on the mech itself. Now, Sora's mech has a very distinct silhouette. It is the tallest of all of the mechs in the entire wave, and it has some very unique weapons and accessories to boot. You have her elemental tech powers shining through in transparent pink with the razor blade here, as well as transparent pink energy emanating out of the side razor blades here, which were the blades used for the Sons of Garmadon wave, and overall, I'm pretty happy with the proportions and look and feel of this design. The only thing that I definitely feel could have been really improved is the way that these particular new armor pieces were mounted. You see, it would have been most ideal if the legs were like this, and then you could actually mount them closed up to the body. I think that looks the best, but unfortunately, that means that due to the leg articulation and the way the legs are mounted, it would have to be perpetually leaning upwards if you do that. I guess you can kind of lean these downwards, but then it becomes a lot less stable. So that's not a really sustainable pose. What is sustainable is if you move these outwards and then move the legs forwards. You can go like this, but unfortunately that means that it feels a little bit awkward to have these almost armor side pieces that are supposed to look like they're just cloth armor or metallic weave armor that just folds around the legs, feel very clunky and unwieldy. The other thing is that if they are closed up and you move one of the legs forwards, it becomes pretty easy to just knock them out in play. So, especially since these sets were designed for kids to play with them, I feel like potentially these should have been mounted differently in some sort of a sense. Personally, I'm not really sure how you would have gotten that same look and feel accomplished if they were mounted on the legs, but I'm sure there might have been a different way to do it. Now, moving onwards to the upper articulation, you can move around the arms. These blades are also mounted on mini ball joints, which are pretty cool as well. And the color scheme, like all of Sora's builds, is really solid. Dark blue, gold, and coral is a color scheme that works surprisingly well for a character like this. I'm really happy with the way it looks, but the only thing I do kind of wish, or at least I think it would have been really cool, is if one of the arms was gold. I feel like that would have been awesome to have the mech actually reflect Sora herself and also make it stand apart from the other mech which she got, which in my opinion is a lot better than this one because that one also transformed into a motorcycle. Imagine if one of these arms was fully gold. That would have been really, really cool. So that's just something I do want to point out, but otherwise the color scheme is pretty solid, and I do like the choice of weapons as well. They feel appropriately techy. Now, in terms of articulation, one of my biggest complaints about the model is that unfortunately, to allow it to make it easier for kids to play with the set, they've incorporated these clip pieces on the back which severely limit the amount of articulation you can get out of the feet. In fact, bending it backwards causes the foot to split apart, which almost accomplishes the opposite effect that the pieces are meant to have. They're supposed to be there for stability, so you can't actually push the foot back past a certain point, but if you keep pushing it, it is just going to break it off and splinter the pieces. So it's certainly something that I wish was improved because I feel like that severely limits the amount of posability that you can even get out of the model itself. It doesn't let you actually put this foot on the ground if it's walking forwards, and that definitely is a major con to me. Because of that piece, I feel like this mech is actually a lot less stable than the others because the furthest forward you can move the feet is this. You cannot bend the legs back any further than this point, which feels like a major missed opportunity and almost feels like they were trying to make it more stable for kids, but in the end made it a lot less stable because of that. Otherwise though, I'm pretty happy with the amount of articulation and poses that you can get out of this build, and thankfully it is Lego, so you can always just change it around however you would like and really just get a completely different look and feel out of it by just taking off those two pieces and really allowing you to have unrestricted movement. Now for one final thing I do want to note about this particular build, it is fully compatible with the other builds in the series. They have introduced a brand new waist articulatable joint piece which is going to be very, very useful for mechs, and the entire point of this series is that, well, you can take apart the arms, take apart the torso, and I guess you could even detach the legs and combine them with other builds in the series. If you want to take the torso of Cole's mech, but one of the arms of Kai's mech and place it on Sora's mech, you can go ahead and do that. The possibilities are pretty limitless, and I really like how they were kind of bringing back this evolving system of construction play that was introduced in Galador for 2002 of all things, but feels like it has really reached the full evolution of its potential by being incorporated into the builds here. It's a system that we actually saw in action already throughout the trailer for the brand new shorts coming out for Dragons Rising Season 2, and I personally am very excited to see this in action fully in the show because it's a really cool concept, one that fits very well with Sora's tech ability, and definitely one that I'm very curious to see how they will actually incorporate that into the series moving forwards and potentially future sets as well, because we are getting a Lloyd's mech in March that fits the same system. That's pretty much all I have to say about this one. I hope you enjoyed the review of Sora's tech mech. For $20 US, I feel like all of the mechs are pretty fairly priced. I have very little complaints about the price, which is strange because usually I do have complaints about price, but for $20, I can't really complain all too much. I feel like I'm getting a very solid, large-scale mech out of this. You also get a side build and a glider as part of the set as well, so you got a little extra value there, and altogether, I'm just very pleased with the set. Articulation leaves a fair amount to be desired. I definitely feel like the articulation could have been greatly and dramatically improved, but overall, it's a pretty solid mech set and one of the best small-scale mechs they've done for Ninjago in a long time. Alright, and with that, we have summed up a brand new Ninjago 2024 review. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the set. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Are you going to be buying this set yourself? And of course, thank you so much for tuning into Duck Bricks. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much for tuning in, and bye for now.